This podcast is sponsored by Dis-Chem Living Fit, with a wide range of health products and supplements tailored to your needs. Whatever your needs are, whatever stage in your health and fitness journey you're in, Dis-Chem Living Fit has the products for you. Marneli Coertze. Coertze, because there's an R there.
Coertze, yes.
So you pronounce it the way it's supposed to be pronounced, because I'll get it wrong. How do you pronounce it?
Marneli Coertze.
Coertze. Okay, cool. With my surname, you would think that I would be able to pronounce Afrikaans
Correct.
surnames, but I can't. Welcome, and thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Only a pleasure. So you are a qualified chiropractor doctor. So do you want to maybe go into, because there's a stigmatism around being a doctor when it's, not medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that people, maybe don't think you deserve it as much as a normal doctor, or is there stigmatism around it?
Okay, so I actually love this question because it fires me up a bit. Right, let me start it this way. If you look at the definition of a medical doctor, it says it's someone that can successfully diagnose and treat a patient, an ill patient or whatever. Now, what happens is there are two statutory health boards that health professionals belong to. You have your HPCSA, which is for your medical doctors, your dentists, your physios, all those people. And then you have the Allied Health Professions Council of South Africa, which is more for the complementary health professionals. So like us, the chiropractors, biokineticists, osteopaths, reflexologists, you name it. Now, those councils are there to protect the public from the practitioner. We cannot practice without being part of this council. They mean nothing to us, actually, because they just make sure that we follow the rules and regulations set out by this council. And they were the people that called us doctor. The reason is, when you look at the course that we do as chiropractors, at the end of your 6 years, you are a diagnostician. It's basically built into the course. So we can successfully diagnose someone and therefore treat them. And that's why they called us a doctor. So we never, ever call ourselves doctors. It wasn't something that we started. The council did. And note that it is not for us. It's for you. The council protects you. And for them to then call us doctors, clearly that means something. But I will never, ever try and act like a medical doctor, because I'm not. I just have the skills to diagnose, and I can send you for bloods, and I can send you for scans and all those nice things that doctors can as well. And that's about it.
Can you write like a script for painkillers, or because obviously
No, and this is also why I think people start thinking, no, but they're not real doctors because they don't give medication. The thing is, we are alternative health professionals, so we don't want to give you medication. And that's okay, because if you think about it, the future of medicine is when not to use, or to teach people how not to use medicine. And I'm fine with that. I don't, if you think about it, why do you always want to give medication to someone that's, struggling with something? If you've got a pain, a backache, the doctor gives you painkillers or anti-inflammatory. Why would you want to do that when sometimes the inflammation is necessary, because, that's how your body heals itself? So, no, we don't prescribe medication.
And it's sad, though, that is the way society in general pretty much is you are sick, let's give you antibiotics, or you are in pain, let's give you painkillers. And antibiotics may be different to painkillers and, anti-inflammatories, but all that does, and I always try to advocate against taking anti-inflammatory if I'm in pain, because then also maybe I feel like, okay, no, I'm actually fine, let me go train, and then I injure yourself even more.
Correct. So, many times I would have patients that come to me and I would ask them, okay, did you take anything before you came here? Oh, yeah, no, I took an anti-inflammatory and a painkiller and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but how must I now know how sore you are? It's a bit of a issue. Look, there is a time and place for anti-inflammatories, because sometimes the body does overreact, and sometimes you need to bring that inflammation down, and that's fine. But in the initial response isn't to quickly take away the inflammation, because how are you going to get new mast cells into that area to try and like heal the wound or the broken area? It's a bit of a pain.
And now in terms of like, let's look at reducing inflammation, like with an ice bath. You know, a lot of people think ice baths are the most amazing thing ever, but also inflammation is good sometimes. So especially you don't want to be doing an ice bath after a hard workout if you're trying to recover.
Correct.
I understand if you are doing, let's say, an event, like you're doing a 3-day cycling event, where after the cycle you want to quickly reduce so that you can go again the next day, different story. But if you're trying to build muscle or have inflammation to obviously develop and help you grow,
Correct.
it's better to actually not do an ice bath after a workout.
Correct. So I do ice baths, but there's a specific time and place for it. Like you said, sometimes you have, if you work out, you know, to the extent that you do, sometimes you need to get that inflammation down just to carry on, because otherwise how are you going to get through it? So I never ever do an ice bath after a workout, because that's counterintuitive to what we're trying to achieve, you know.
So when would the best time be to do an ice bath?
So generally it's when my recovery happens, you know, later on. So I would generally do it more over a weekend. And if my training, for example, wasn't so hectic, when you want to now start reducing your inflammation again. So I generally now train, Jack makes me train about, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I wouldn't do ice baths then. I would rather do them on a Tuesday and a Thursday when I have active recovery, and over the weekends, you know. And yes, I would sit for 15 minutes, but there's a lot of other things that are also quite good, you know, which is beneficial when you have an ice bath. For example, it's good for like just your general health. Like there's been a lot of research that's been done on how it like increases your immunity, and when you get out that ice bath, your body forces blood into that area again. So then you have more oxygen to start recovering. So there's like a time and place. It's like a fine line of where to play around with ice baths or not.
And also, I mean, as you say, improving your immunity, your nervous system is going to get massive benefit from it.
100%.
And then also, people think, no, you're going to get sick from going in an ice bath, but it actually has the adverse reaction, and it's actually positive for your immune system.
I haven't actually been sick since I've had an ice bath. It's very weird. And I mean, I sit in the ice bath. Sometimes I would sit in the ice bath at bloody 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's the only time I get. And in winter, and I'm fine.
Yeah. So you say you mentioned training 3 times a week.
Yes.
And I want to obviously go into the last like maybe 2-3 years of your training. Mm-hmm. But I see you do a lot of strength work as well. Is that why the frequency of training is maybe a little bit less than if you were focusing on hypertrophy?
There's a big, sure. Like we're trying to do the strength and the hypertrophy part. So it's a bit difficult, but the amount of training that we do on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is really hectic. So I do 2 training sessions on a Monday and but on all 3 of those days. But on a Monday and a Wednesday, we would incorporate Josh sessions at Performance Purist. And he kind of taps into a lot of central nervous system stuff. It really fatigues you. And it's a lot of compound movements and high intensity stuff. So your body then has to kind of recover. So that's why Jack then said on a Tuesday, you literally have to do your active recovery. And on a Thursday as well. Yeah.
So what got you more into, because you've always been fit, you've always been active.
Except for COVID, but yes.
So what, sparked your, I wouldn't say newfound interest, because it has been a relatively longer period of time.
Yes.
But, what got you into training, or putting more focus onto your training?
Ooh, okay. So I do have a newfound passion for bodybuilding, I must be honest. Obviously I have a huge passion for health and wellness. Otherwise I wouldn't have become a chiropractor in general. And my husband used to do bodybuilding as well. And he always used to tell me about Jack Lotte and, SDS and all these people. I mean, I even, got to see about you. And it was just very interesting to see how you guys trained. And anyway, so then after COVID, just shortly after COVID, Jack sent me a message saying that he really wants to meet with me and chat to me about like a joint venture. And I then started working at SDS as a chiropractor. And he then said to me, okay, let me train you. I said, okay, cool, let's try. And the amount of science that this man puts into the training or the bodybuilding industry is ridiculous. It really sparked such a massive interest and passion in me, because now I wanted to know everything there is to know about hypertrophy training, strength training. When do you do certain things? How does the nutrition work? When are your glycogen stores, full? When, how do they play around with all this stuff? So I guess it's more the science behind it that's sparked an interest in me. And so I literally on a daily want to push my body as far as I can to see what it can do. And to have someone like Jack, mentoring me and taking me through this journey it's made it an experience and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's amazing along the way, but it's also brings about a lot of challenges because it's also 100%. Very difficult.
It also mentally, it challenges you so much. And I feel like I've grown so much as a person. When you go through hardships in life, the training was the one thing. I mean, this is the one thing I remember Jack always said to me, if I go through something bad, he goes, Em, it doesn't matter how you are feeling. You can cry, you can want to kill someone. It doesn't matter. Make sure you get your meals in and make sure you get to your training. Do it. And I did that, and I got through all of my stuff, and it just, I don't know, I ended up using or the training as my psychology sessions, if it makes sense. And I've learned to become more I don't know, just fight harder for what I want. Your life can be how shit ever. You kind of get through it somehow. And this has taught me a lot.
Yeah, I think building that resilience through having to go through difficult workouts, but then also, you've got a training session, so you have to do it. You've got a particular nutrition plan, you have to do it. So it's also those actionable steps that you need to follow every single day to see the results. Right. So what sort of, because you also mentioned ice bath at 3 a.m, what sort of routine do you have in place? Do you have a set routine that every day relatively is the same, or certain things that every day you try to do to help the mental as well as the physical?
Yes, I do. If I don't have a routine, I don't function at all. I fall off the bus completely. So that sounds a bit rough, but I'm a mom too. So I really have to try and manage my time as perfectly as I can. Otherwise I forget things. So I would wake up anything between 3 o'clock and 4. So I would never wake up after 4, unless it's over a weekend where I get to sleep in a little bit, but that's generally a day. So I would wake up then, and then I would either do my ice bath or I would kind of start getting ready for the day. I'm at the gym at 5, busy training clients, and then seeing patients in between. And then somewhere in between on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I have to do my morning session training, and then afternoon session at 2. And then you continue on with your work. Sometimes I have to fetch Marcel and take him to his cricket or whatever. But I generally have a routine. But yes, because of the fact that I'm a mom, sometimes you don't really have control over everything. So you kind of have to have your stuff planned as well as you can. Yeah.
So let's go more into the chiropractic aspect of it. What do you think would be the benefit of maybe seeing, as any athlete, any person that trains and their body, suffers fatigue? What's the benefit, or maybe the difference even, between let's say having a session with a chiro than getting a deep tissue sports massage?
Okay, so both are very beneficial. I actually would recommend that you do go to a massage therapist anyway. Because as much as I love touching people, I don't like doing the massages. But chiropractic-wise, there's a lot of things that you should be thinking of. For example, your fascia. Your fascia plays a very, very big role in the way your body functions. If you think about it, it's literally from head to toe, your fascia is connected. And if your fascia, for example, does not expand with your muscle while it trains, it's going to start compressing that muscle, and it's not going to function as well as it wants to. For example, if you think about a runner, most runners suffer from ITB issues. So sometimes your quad goes into spasm because the fascia is so tight around it, or it could be because of a biomechanical error. There's a lot of different options and scenarios, but say, for example, it's just your quad that's now, inflamed and the fascia doesn't get to expand as well, everything is going to go tight and you're going to end up having issues like ITB problems and all those things. So we need to make sure that that's sorted out. Then there's a very big link between your nervous system and the muscle and the way your body functions. Obviously, your nervous system is in control of everything that you do. So if there's any glitch in the system from the message coming from your brain to your muscle to contract, you're not gonna function properly, and the chances of you hurting something is greater. That's where, like, you would, for example, have a situation where your muscle fires too late and you end up tearing a bicep or something. I don't know. So what I then do is make sure that your proprioceptive input is good. So in your spine, you have these little things called mechanoreceptors, and they pick up signs of where you are in space. And that's what proprioception is. And basically, you just want to make sure that everything flows properly. You want to make sure that those receptors are stimulated and functioning properly, so that the message going from your muscle to your brain and from your brain to your muscle is on time, so that you don't hurt yourself.
And then, looking at a sports massage, would that just more be releasing the tension in a different sort of way?
Yeah. So, I mean, many times you have trigger points in your muscles and you need to get them to start releasing. Also, they also help with fascial release. It's very important. If you think about, let me talk about bodybuilding for a second. So, my biggest patient is Sibu Sisu Kutelo. And
biggest patient as in size, and then seeing him probably the most often.
Yes.
In both aspects.
Both aspects, yes. I mean, he is 137 kgs now, and I think he's sitting at about 5% body fat.
So I'm pretty sure your hands, since working on him, like in general, obviously you have to have strong hands, yes. But I mean, imagining working on him and having to get in that muscle.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do. So with him, for example, he has an excessively large amount of muscle, like it's incredibly big. And no normal human being looks like that. He is the exception to the rule. And Joshua and I have been talking about this quite often. He would sometimes struggle with lower back issues, or his glute would give in or something. And it's just because his fascia doesn't have enough time to stretch with him. Like, it doesn't have that time to adapt to the amount of muscle that he has. So we literally have to do weekly sessions with him. And when it comes to, when we were closer to Brazil, when he had to go to Brazil, we did 2 sessions a week, and miss one session, it all goes to shit. It's ridiculous.
That's also actually what I want to ask is, at what point can you actually regress by going too often? What's the right amount? Obviously depends on how you train. And
yes, so look, it's a very open-ended question. It's like it depends on everyone's lifestyle. I can't tell you.
Let's look at someone that's training like 5-7 times a week, 5 to 10 times a week at a very high level.
Look, I would suggest, if you're at Sibu Sisu's level, I would suggest weekly. Sometimes you could do with like once a month. I don't know. It depends on how your body recovers actually as well. And what are the accessory things that you put in after your training? Because let's face it, everyone trains, everyone follows their diet plan or whatever, the proper athlete. But there's these little things that you do behind the scenes that people don't know of. And those are important.
What little things would you suggest?
So, for example, like the chiro sessions that we do, Sibu sees his massage therapist as well on a weekly basis. He does his ice baths. He goes to he does things to make sure that he sleeps well. There's many things. I do weekly stretch sessions with him. So his stretch sessions are harder than his treatments, because it takes me over an hour to stretch this man from head to toe, and I literally have to lift him up to try and decompress his spine, then stretch his lower back, his quads, his glutes, his arms, his shoulders, his everything. So all these little things play a role in how he is today,
So something like micro needling. Can you explain the science?
Dry needling.
Dry needling. Sorry, yes. Not micro needling. I was thinking of maybe I need a micro needling for my skin.
Yes.
So dry needling. How what's the benefit of, getting those needles? I was thinking micro because it's like little micro needles going in.
Yeah.
The benefit of that as opposed to like massaging the area or like getting deeper in the tissue.
Okay, so sometimes the muscle, the trigger point sits very deep in the muscle, and sometimes getting in there with your fingers is just not enough. It also depends on how stubborn that bloody trigger point is, because you have things like latent and active trigger points. The latent trigger points are difficult because they kind of almost go away. The pain goes away until someone goes and pinches them and you're like, oh, a flip. Okay, this is a bit sore. So your body has this wonderful way of trying to switch off pain so that you can just function. If it can't fix it, it's going to try and function without fixing it. Okay, but anyway, so the dry needling is essentially there just to puncture the muscle. So it gets into that deep trigger point and it just reestablishes blood flow into that area. Because if you think about it, when you have a trigger point, your muscle is like a little ball, and it cuts off the blood supply to that area. So nothing can metabolize in there. There's no release of toxins. There's no flushing away of toxins, nothing. So now you need to actively release that thing. And that's basically where the dry needling comes in. I just puncture the muscle. I hurt your muscle and I make your body just flush it away and just fix it quickly. Yeah.
So I have, as I'm pretty sure many people suffered shoulder problems.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's pretty much anyone that lifts weights at some point has suffered shoulder issues. I know, is it due to maybe incorrect form? I know that when I went to, bios and stuff, it was because my lower traps were overdeveloped. So there was like causing an impingement. Would you say most issues are because of, people's poor form and injuring themselves, or because their poor form trains the muscles incorrectly? So they think they're training shoulders, but actually their traps are being worked too much.
Yeah, so form plays a very big role. But then also, this is kind of where we try and educate people more, because what people don't realize is your shoulder is one of the most mobile joints in your body, which means it's the least stable or the least stable. And the problem is it's very easy then to injure the shoulder joint. But what people sometimes miss is the fact that it's not just your shoulder. You've got your shoulder blade working as well, and all the muscles surrounding it. There's all these little accessory muscles that have to work as well. So if you miss something, if something's not firing, you can easily hurt a shoulder. To give you an example, like the trap is a very good one to use, because many people have this thing where their traps just work harder because your delts are weaker. So they kind of try and lift the shoulder up for the delt because it's tired. This is where compromise happens, or overcompensation, I mean. So sometimes you would have a situation where, let's think of scapular winging. Sometimes your serratus anterior is weak. Can you tell me how to train your serratus anterior? Okay, so it's those little muscles that people don't even think of. It's those little fingers on the side.
I would say like maybe what's the scapular pull-ups?
Yes, and scapular push-ups.
Yeah, or so maybe even I know if I focus there, maybe like if I'm doing planking.
Yes, so the planking is a very good one to use. So we do in the gym, we do something called scapular push-ups, and it's literally just where you are allowing your scapula to retract and protract. But you actively have to do that and use your serratus anterior. So if that thing is weak, your scapula moves forward and you're immediately starting to place more pressure on the front of your delt. So then you start having bicep tendon issues, your front delt freaks out, your pec maybe freaks out, all these little things. So that's just, look, form, anyone can tell you my form is perfect, but to me it's more about, have you trained every little rotator cuff muscle? Have you trained every little accessory muscle around your shoulder to make sure that it's stable? So when at SCS we do these monthly lectures, and sometimes I would take the lecture and we would literally go through every bloody muscle's attachment, how it works, what to look for in your client, and how to kind of assess, what needs strengthening, so that you can avoid stuff like this. Because ultimately you want to train heavy. You want to be able to be pain-free throughout. Look, sometimes it's inevitable. Sometimes you're going to miss it and you're not going to pay attention as well. Maybe that's why you injure yourself. But yeah.
So you started obviously at STS as a chiro, but now you've also moved into the training aspect and, you know, assisting and guiding other people.
Yeah.
Did you make that change because of your newfound passion, because of, you know, hearing all the knowledge that Jack had and learning from him and, you know, wanting to use certain aspects of that and, you know, kind of amalgamate chiro and online training?
So, yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with that. Firstly, I do think Jack kind of just forced me into that a little bit. He's like, you know, I'm just letting you know you're
It's
becoming
Jack.
a trainer. I'm like, thanks, bud. I enjoy that. But ultimately, to me, I think it's got more to do with the holistic approach to chiro, because of, you know, I believe that what I do is about 10%. What the patient does after, that's the most important.
And now
part.
you can help the after.
Correct. Because I don't see what my patients do when they train. So if I can help you in that way, then at least I know I've got your back, and you know we can try and make sure that you don't injure yourself again. I think that's my main thing. And then obviously a little part of it, well, a big part of it, has also got to do with the fact that I was able to transform myself. And as a mom, like everyone freaks out about, you know, when you have kids, you don't have your own time, you're busy. How do you get time to train? Like I just try and teach that moms in general, listen, this is how it is. This is how we make it work. And let's get your body back.
So what would you say to a mom that comes to you and says, you know, I'm a mom, I don't have time to train?
Well, do you make time to feed your child at night? Do you make time to work? Then you make time for yourself. Because if you can't love yourself or you can't look after yourself, how are you going to be the best for your family? I don't know. I'm very like, I don't know. I don't believe in not making time. Like there's time in the day. You just need to make the time.
I think it's just tough love. If you
Correct.
want something bad enough, you will make time.
Correct. It's just one of those things. I mean, yes, we all fall into those bad habits, and I had that. I mean, my husband and I had a massive fallout because of that. And one day I woke up and I was like, hello, buddy, wake up now. Enough self-pitying. Get up and do your thing. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and never look back.
Yeah, and I think it's up to you.
Yes.
Because, you know, your husband, your friend, your whoever could tell you, you know, maybe start looking after yourself more, or maybe prioritize your health a little bit more. But it's never going to help until there comes a time where you make that personal decision. It's the same as like a drug addict, where it has to be up to them. No matter how much your family tells you one thing, it has to be up to you to make the change.
Correct. And I feel like, you know, since I've been more in control of what I'm doing with my body and, you know, looking after myself, I have more control over my moods with my husband, with my son. And I've got, like, I'm almost more successful in my business life because I'm in control. And that's also something that I learned from Jack. You literally have to put yourself first at some stage. Like you wake up, you go do your hair, you do your nails, you make sure that everything's done, you go and train, make sure that you are well looked after, and then you start focusing on the rest. It works.
Yeah, I think it's a good principle to live by. It's not like the word selfish isn't at all the correct term, but it's even independence actually isn't the right term, but it's, you know, looking after yourself and giving yourself enough love so that you can love other people and care for other people. I mean, it's the same as in an airplane. You help your mask first, you put your mask on, then you can help someone else. If you're looking after your health, if you are more active, if you have more energy, if you have the ability to go and train, when you need the energy to get up and take your kid to this thing, or when you need the energy to go to this meeting, you're going to have it because you've been putting and have that self-care so that you have the energy to go do these other things that previously might have been more difficult.
Correct. No, it's really quite important. And, you know, at the end of the day, I look at my son and I go, like, when he comes to me the one day, he says to me, Ma, do you know, you are the strongest mom in my school. And I'm like, yo, I love that. Like the fact that I have this cool habit of like training hard and looking after myself immediately affects my boy, because now he wants to be like that as well. And he's proud to walk around with mom around the school. Look at my change, but, you know, because he's still 11. But like those things play a massive role as well. You know, you need to be the best person that you can be, because how are you going to help other people? And as a chiropractor, I need to be able to help people. Okay, also I need to be strong because otherwise I can't treat big guys. So
you can't align Sibu if you're not strong.
No. And I need to live that, man. So no, I need to be strong.
And now with your training, what are your goals going forward? Is it the holistic approach in terms of just creating a lifestyle around it, or is there something maybe closer that you want to do a show? Or
look, lifestyle, it's definitely a holistic thing for me as well. I never want to look back and think, oh shit, you could have been better, because I also love being strong, so that's something that I always want to work on. But I'm kind of starting to feel the idea of I'll consider competing. Jack's also playing on my mind a bit with all this stuff.
Because knowing Jack is definitely pushing you to.
Yeah, he is. At this moment, I'm prepping for a photo shoot, first of all. But I'd like to see if I can. It'll be interesting, because then I can say, I've tried it. I've done it. And then maybe after I'll do something else. Maybe I'll do CrossFit. Just joking, Jack.
Would you advise moms or working women or working people in general, actually, male, female, actually doesn't matter, to, if they don't want to compete, like do a photo shoot, or, what type of goals would you advise people to set that have families and full-time jobs and all of these things that obviously take their time?
Well, look, a photo shoot is always, it's something it's nice to have. You kind of get to look back one day when you're old, you're like, yo, I looked like this. This is cool. But I do like the idea of having a goal. If you set small goals for yourself, it's almost easier to achieve. Instead of having, you train, but for what? Because I find many of my clients, so I've got a lot of moms actually, that it's very funny that it ended up like that, but there's a lot of moms that I train. But a lot of time they go, okay, so what am I training for? Like I see I get stronger, I see I look good, I've got my six pack and all, but what are we training for? I'm like, okay, well, set a goal. But I don't know. It depends whether it's flipping, we're going on a cruise, and I want to look sexy in my bikini for my husband, or like the photo shoot is something that's plain and simple. Obviously, I can do that because I can almost also promote my business with the photos that I take, and I think that's also nice to have. Yeah. Unless you want to do a show, that's also cool.
And it is interesting, how people you attract people that relate to you better,
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, doing a photo shoot for your brand. And it's not just, obviously you're in the fitness industry, so you work with health and fitness, but looking better and feeling better in a corporate environment is still going to have massive benefits. You're still going to, when you go to a meeting and you can see someone looks after themselves, someone takes time to do their hair, someone looks after, they don't have to have expensive clothes, but they at least take the time to put themselves together and be presentable, you already have more respect for that person.
Right. And you immediately think that they are probably going to put in as much work into the actual work than what they do on themselves. It's definitely valid. First, unfortunately, your first appearance makes a big, it does count for a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of people, and I mean, in relationships even, people say, you can't go just on looks, but you can't, if you look across the room, you can't see someone by their personality. Obviously, you can maybe see how they interact with people, but first impressions, 9 times out of 10, anyone that's got into a relationship with someone else is because initially, maybe not 9 times out of 10, let's say at least 60% of the time, it's the physical attraction first, or the visual, he's good looking, she's pretty, whatever. Yeah. Then you get to know them. Obviously, you can maybe fall in love with the personality first, then the person becomes physically more attractive.
Yeah, that could happen.
But 9
out of 10 times.
9 times out of 10, yeah.
No. Let me tell you this. We are primitive beings. We need to procreate. And you are built to find someone that is going to give you the better offspring. Look, I know some people don't want kids, and that's cool. But you literally look at someone, you go, okay, I like this person. This is something that I want to pursue. Like, we all have a bloody type. And when I met my husband, for example, I looked at him and I was like, okay, check those arms. They're quite strong. And he was gorgeous. Like, I immediately thought, yo, okay. But as time went by, I started to get to know him, and then they become more attractive. And then you find also those little things that irritate you, and you're like, okay, now I don't like you very much. But it's true. You have to look after yourself because that's how it works. No person can tell me that looks don't matter. You are lying. You are lying.
And that's also, mentioning the biological factors and the procreation factors. The better, we find attraction, and we base attraction on, most people, on the person's ability, as you said, to bring you offsprings. And through time, the person that is fitter, the person that is maybe not super overweight and a high body fat is more attractive because that's the person biologically that's going to bring you better offsprings.
Correct.
So it's essentially, why would you, obviously people, and I mean, in today's age, a person that's super overweight, if they're relatively healthy, is still going to survive the same way a fit person is. But ingrained in us is that desire or that need to find someone, and it's survival of the fittest, and you want to find the fittest person. It doesn't have to be a comrade runner, but it can just be someone that, is healthy. And in life, the healthier person is the person that looks better.
That's unfortunately true. Like, you can't take away from that. I do know that you get you get people that like someone that with a bigger bum, because obviously you want that childbearing hips. And that's cool.
And that's also still biology.
Stunning.
It's still biology. So
correct.
It's still the,
That's
the natural.
choose.
Yeah.
Yes. Darwin's theory. Man, that thing works.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if you look at certain cultures where it used to be the bigger you are, it shows that the more wealthier you are, which is also another way of looking at it and saying, okay, well, that's the person. If the bigger they are, the wealthier they are, means that they're going to be able to support a family for me. So that's attraction, so that I can pass on my bloodline.
Correct. I don't think there's any right or wrong. Listen, if you are obese, then as a health professional, I'm going to tell you there's a problem because you are like a ticking time bomb, and that's not ideal. But again, like you have your own life, and whatever you want to look like, that's cool. This is also the other thing. So most women, there's this thing about, are you going to be muscular? When is it too much, or do you want to be skinny? Like, man, I've got a lot of people that still live in that, we want to be skinny. We want to have a 13-year-old
runway model.
Yeah. And some men actually prefer the skinny look. And, many times on TikTok, I would say, you'd see someone saying, oh, your legs are almost just too big. And I'm like, calm down, sit down, relax. But also, like, your body is made in a certain way. And if you can use it the way it's meant to be used, then cool. I have the ability to build muscle faster than the ectomorphic, girl. And that's cool with me. I have made peace with the fact that I will never, ever have a thigh gap, which is great. I love it. But also, there's room for many different builds in this world. Just be the best version of you. I guess to me, it's actually got more to do with the mental aspect than anything else.
Yeah, I think, that you mentioned that person that said on TikTok that your thighs are too big. The mentor of that person is probably not healthy, because if you have the time to go and comment something negative like that,
Correct.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you are happy with yourself, you only need to focus on yourself. You only need to worry about what you're doing, because what someone else is doing that you don't agree with won't actually matter to you. Like, you don't have to have an opinion on the size of some random ladies. I mean, this guy probably doesn't even know you. Well, if someone does know you, they're not going to comment that.
Most of them don't. And it's very funny. And, I always laugh about it. Because also, this is the other thing. People would, for example, on Instagram, you have this bloody NGL link. And people are cocky, eh? Like, when they know you can't see who that person, who they are, they give you gas. They ask the most ridiculous questions. And I just laugh, because I feel like there's something seriously wrong in their heads to want to go and, push buttons or try and irritate you. They don't know you. So why are you doing this? But yeah, I always just laugh about it.
And they hide behind a screen or anonymity.
I think also the fact that I never get angry at the stuff that's being asked. I always actually post everything that's asked. And I never get angry. And then I get messages from people and they're like, how do you take this? This is ridiculous. And I'm like, man, they're just bored. That's it.
And also, I mean, posting something that's kind of controversial also just helps
it boosts
entertain.
my following. It's lovely.
So, I mean, also the one thing, and you mentioned your husband a few times, and obviously you guys are still married.
Yes.
But I think it's maybe also because, and that's what's wrong with society is, it's because you work in a male-dominated area, industry, not really industry, but the STS, it's mainly males.
Oh, yeah.
And the human psyche is, if this woman's working with men, she must be sleeping around, or she must be doing this, or she must be single.
Yes.
And that's also maybe why people just now automatically assume that you must be single or divorced or whatever because you're with a lot of men.
Yeah, so it's actually been very interesting. So we are I think we're about 4 or 5 girls at STS now, and the rest are all men. And obviously they're all bloody big and well built, and so
and they're all loud or outspoken men.
Yes, very. So I just laugh because now everyone's like, okay, no, now you're being trained by Jack, and now there's stuff going on, and I'm like, cool it, just relax for a second. And look, I know I don't have an ugly face, I know that, but just because of that doesn't mean my relationship is necessarily faulty. Like I'm okay. My husband and I are good, and they always ask me, "Are you single?" And I go, "No." They literally just carry on and on.
It's
also
like
they don't want to believe it.
Yeah, it's also they're hoping that you are, so then maybe they think but some guy potentially has a chance.
Yeah, look, listen. If you have any idea what my husband has to put up with on a daily basis, I think you'd be very happy that I'm not single.
But I think that's also a lot, as you mentioned earlier, then you learn the person's flaws and you learn certain things and certain aspects of the person's personality that makes it difficult. But that's also what's special about getting to know someone like that is you start to actually love them because of those weird...
Absolutely. Like I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm very thankful for every trial and tribulation that I've gone through in my marriage, and at the end of the day, like you realize that this person it's your person, and to be without them is like losing an arm. I think I wouldn't want to change that. I'm very, very thankful for the person I've met or that I'm with. He's very great. He's wonderful.
Awesome. 45 minutes, that's cool. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll put your Instagram and your both Instagrams for the Chiro and then obviously your personal in the description. And people just DM you. How can they reach out?
They can DM me. I have a booking link as well on the Chiro page. So if you want to book a session with me, you'll go to my receptionist and she'll book you in. Or Bianca, who is my locum or my partner in crime, and she's got an online booking link. So you can just choose your slot and then come through.
And where in the world?
We are into a East Road Morningside. So it is at the gym called Unique Physique Gym, where all the big bullies train.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thanks, guys, for listening. Cheers. This podcast is sponsored by Dis-Chem Living Fit, with a wide range of health products and supplements tailored to your needs. Whatever your needs are, whatever stage in your health and fitness journey you're in, Dis-Chem Living Fit has the products for you.